News stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Hello there, you're watching GB News. I'm Bethany Elsey, here to bring you up to date. The UK is boosting its support for Ukraine, pledging a £50 million package of air defence aid. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak confirmed the move during an unannounced visit to Kyiv earlier. He told President Volodymyr Zelensky the UK will continue to stand with the country as it fights to end Russia's barbarous war.
Your homes, your hospitals, your power stations are being destroyed by the air. So to help you defend yourselves, we are today providing new air defence support, including 120 anti-aircraft guns, radar and anti-drone equipment. We're extending our training for the Ukrainian armed forces to include specialist expertise from UK medics and engineers. And we are stepping up our support to help you through the cold, hard winter ahead.
Negotiators at COP27 are nearing a breakthrough deal for a new fund to help developing countries cope with the impacts of climate change. The money would compensate 134 nations for damage caused by droughts, floods and wildfires. With a final climate accord already more than a day overdue, delegates are still trying to reach an agreement. The European Union's climate policy chief says ministers from the bloc are prepared to walk away if the deal is not ambitious enough. The chief executive of Rochdale Borough-wide Housing has been sacked after a 2-year-old boy died following prolonged exposure to mould. An inquest heard how the parents of Awab Ishak had made numerous complaints to the council, but were told to simply paint over it. The council has said it was no longer tenable for Gareth Swarbrick to stay on. The government says the board still has questions to answer. A man being held at an immigration centre in Kent has died. The Home Office says he arrived in the UK after crossing the Channel in a small boat last week, and he took ill at the Manston Centre yesterday. The facility has come under scrutiny for poor conditions and overcrowding in recent weeks. A post-mortem will take place to determine his cause of death. And FIFA's president has defended the decision to host the World Cup in Qatar and accused the West of hypocrisy. Gianni Infantino's comments follow heavy criticism of Doha's treatment of migrant workers and LGBTQ people. He says he's compassionate towards all groups and said European countries have a lot to answer for.
I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before.
You're up to date on TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Stephen Allen. Joining me tonight is the comedic heavyweight Miriam Elia and the heavyweight Lewis Schaefer. Let's have a quick scan at Sunday's main headlines before we take a closer look. And let's take a look at tomorrow's front pages. We start with The Telegraph. The Sunday Telegraph has Zahawi, we want to cut tax before election. The Observer, Starmer will abolish Lords to restore trust in politics. The Sunday Times, Britain mulls Swiss-style ties with Brussels. The Express, shameless. FIFA boss defends Qatar over human rights record and brands West racist. The Sun on Sunday, stars jungle meltdown, Boy George quit threat. And to the Daily Star Sunday, FIFA boss dribbles on and on. Infamy, infamy. You've all got it, infamy. And those are your front pages. Let's get stuck in. First up, Miriam, is you got the Express, and what are they focusing on?
They are focusing on the FIFA boss, Gianni Infantino, Infantino, who basically has gone into a really long rant branding the West as racist, and that we've been racist for 3,000 years, and we've got 3,000 years to apologise for our racistness.
Kind of takes as long to apologise as it does to do a thing as well. Even that's flawed mathematics.
For 3,000 years, we have to go to bed every night going, oh, my God, I'm a racist.
Exactly.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
Does he sleep at
I don't
night?
have to do that because my ancestry is immigrant. So
now you bring that up just because you want to get out
this is obviously just
another.
It's another kind of woke fad, isn't it, of self-harm.
But it's also it's not the only thing he had to declare as well. Interesting clips.
Yeah, so it's about the booze at Qatar. They basically did a U-turn at the last minute and said to everyone coming that they couldn't drink in the stadium. And obviously the fans are really upset about that. But to be fair and even-handed, in all the European stadiums, they can't drink either. So it's just a 3-hour game, that's what he's saying. But then obviously that's caused quite a lot of unrest amongst drinkers.
I mean, up until 2 days ago, the plans were in place that there would be places where you could drink Budweiser, if that's your particular thing. And the fact that there was a U-turn on it just before the start of it.
And also the other thing is that they don't tolerate LGBTQ++ in Qatar. So even though the head of FIFA has come out and saying, no, it's fine, you should all come down, it's fine, it's absolutely fine.
Did he not come out as everything? I think he said all of the things, didn't he? He said, I'm gay, I'm a woman.
He basically, that was the funny bit. He went, I am gay, I'm a woman, I'm African, I'm all these oppressed minorities.
But I agree with him. I agree with him because he wanted to feel. He was feeling what everybody's feeling.
He was feeling it
because he had red hair, and that's a
he said, he was ginger.
He had red hair in Switzerland, which is in some way, maybe it's because the mountains there, the wind blowed his red hair and embarrassed him when he was.
But the thing is, I mean, they're saying that, but the tournament's going to go ahead. I mean, they know that homosexuality is punishable by you know, flogging and stuff in those countries, but they'll still go ahead with the tournament, won't they? So
they will go ahead.
Kind of a lip service to it, isn't
The
it?
most important thing in this whole business is that it's the World Cup. It's not the Qatar Cup. It's not the Cup of Beer Cup. It's the World Cup. It doesn't matter where it's being played. You know, you just go there and you just play the football. You have if you can.
Yeah, you don't necessarily get a drink. You think even if you do buy a drink in the place, isn't it £12 for less than a pint?
Yeah.
My inner northernness kicks in and go, no, it's teetotal then.
Well, you haven't lived in London very long, isn't it?
My only advice would be, if you are LGBTQ, I wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go. I don't know. They could just do a U-turn like that, couldn't they? Go, oh, we didn't mean inclusive.
Yeah.
We meant all inclusive.
Lewis, let's have a look at the Telegraph that's gone down the same route. What can we find out from their front page?
Well, do you want to know something that's interesting about the Telegraph? I love the Telegraph if I didn't have to pay for it, because it's got so much news. It's got the most news, maybe not per dollar,
right,
but the most news. It says that Rishi Sunak, our guy, went to the Ukraine because he wanted to be like in the footsteps of Boris Johnson, who spent half of his time there. I guess that was the only place he was liked. He was a big man in the Ukraine. So you go where you're loved. And he went there, and he said he's going to bring these people money to fight the Russians and keep the war going, so that electricity and gas prices are high and people freeze to death. So
they made loads of money out of war as well.
Yeah, everybody's making money out of it, and he seems like a strong guy.
But isn't the flip side of what you just said the opposite, is that we could get cheaper gas prices if we root for Putin?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that might be a controversial take for you, but no, apparently that's
Do you know
right
what?
up your street.
Do you know what? I'm not saying I support Putin, but I think that they've got a legitimate claim to those areas. As a matter of fact, the Crimea, they have a legitimate claim to, because they stole it in the first place from the Crimeans back in the day, if you know your history.
When are you announcing your tour of Russia? I didn't realise you were working on those dates already.
Do you know what? There's always two sides of the story. And as a person of my background, because I'm an immigrant, I'm a double immigrant, you know, from my ancestors, and then coming here.
Probably on the same boat, eh?
And then we originally moved to same boat. We were a lot smarter because we went all the way to America. You guys got off a bit early.
We're thrown off.
You didn't pay the full price. But so that's that news. I mean, speaking of immigrants, there was the first migrant death recorded at this detention center where they're bringing all the people off the boat. Coming off the boat who are coming to Britain.
Yeah.
And this is a tragedy, which I will try to make light of.
Yeah.
A tragedy, but you have to keep in mind that thousands of people are coming a day. 4,000 people are coming a day, and people can die. I hope I don't come across as being cruel and heartless. I am a horrible person.
Yeah, but it is a kind of a risky thing to get in a dinghy.
In a dinghy, you're going to get cold, and they've traveled across Europe from a warm country, possibly.
Yeah, and they apparently go to France, and then on the border there's like these big shops that sell dinghies. This is actually what's happening.
Yeah.
Like Sports Direct or whatever it is. I can't remember.
It shouldn't be a risky thing to be... Well, you don't know what's risky yet. It shouldn't be a risky thing to be temporarily housed in Manston.
Well, no, of course not.
And we don't know. I mean, until they do the post-mortem and see what the cause of death is, a lot of this is just going to remain speculation.
Well, they're saying it's not an infectious disease, so it could be anything.
But you want to know something? A lot of those infectious diseases, this is another issue, are not really that infectious.
Can I steer you back to anything that's on the front page before we go down?
Yeah, and then finally, they also talk about the outrage of the FIFA boss as he slams the West. And, I mean, that's all we do. Is he says there's a 3,000-year history in Europe. I mean, if you count the Etruscans, maybe, but we don't count those people. I mean, basically, it's about 20... If you count Egypt part of Europe, which I don't think we do,
It's as old as time.
Yeah.
So if we go back 2,000, gets us to Christy times, but then 1,000 before that, Greece.
Is it basically just like having a go at Christians?
Greece is in Europe, isn't it?
Okay, you're right.
What's on the front of the Observer, Miriam?
I hadn't thought about that.
That's why I said it.
So the front of the Observer is Keir Starmer saying that he will abolish the House of Lords if he comes into power, which, personally, I have a bit of sympathy with that. They're not elected.
Yeah.
Who are they? Why?
I mean, one argument is that it's a place where you can have expertise. You can find someone who's good at something, put them in a place where they're involved in our political system. But then, does it particularly work? We've got a place full of people who don't turn up.
Commons.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't expect expertise in the Commons. No, that's
actually, we'll know. But,
yeah.
That's his main shtick at the moment, that he will abolish the House of Lords and rebrand politics and make people trust the system more open, more transparent.
Who is he playing to by doing this? I'm asking you, Stephen.
That's a good question.
Well, I am glad you asked. I think it's people who are sick of the elite getting their friends a gig for life.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a left or a right issue. It's people who are slightly tired with the way that this political system works.
Yeah.
Now, the question then is, what do you have instead? And he doesn't actually have an answer, does it? They will speak to some experts and come up with some plans, all right? So they avoid that question.
Yeah.
The thing you replace it with could be equally as bad as
probably
the House of
worse.
Lords.
Yeah,
probably worse. That's the way it is.
Well, I am an anti-royalist, which I'm sorry for the people out there. I'm an American. I can hate. Hate is too strong a word. I dislike the concept of a royal family.
You dislike it?
I dislike it. And so I disliked originally the House of Lords, if they're going to be appointed, whatever it is, or whatever, from, ancestral. But at the end of the day, this country has the most radical political system ever, where one party gets elected, boom, everything changes all across the country because it's so centralized. They can suddenly decide not to build housing or to change the school system. So anything that slows the system down makes it more like an American system, which is much better.
Well, we can do like a 180 on tax plans without even having an election.
There you go.
Or we have a prime minister that wasn't even elected.
Yeah, they're all not elected. But the point is, exactly you point out, they had a system with Kwasi Kwarteng, whatever, and the other woman, whatever her name was.
Liz
Truss. And then suddenly...
A lot of people struggle with that now, don't they? I'm sure there was another prime minister for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, Liz Truss, yeah.
No, that was a week ago.
Can I say one thing? It's not as if Labour has no one represented in the House of Lords. He made it seem like it's only the Tories who have appointed these horrible people, but they've been appointed throughout time.
Yeah.
And then to the Daily Star, they have a different take on that main story of the day, Lewis.
Well, you know what it is? I got to tell you something. I don't read the Daily Star because I'm too good for it. I've never read the Daily Star. I've never even seen a picture of the Daily Star. But
oh, there's one up there now.
They compared him to Kenneth Williams.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, Lewis, are you aware of the Carry On films? Do you get that front page?
I do. And when I came to this country, I thought, you know what? British sense of humour is so not funny. And the more I've stayed, I shouldn't say this to the people who are listening, the more I think about it, the more I know the British people, the more I have total respect for any artist making films in this country, any stand-up comedian, having to deal with British people. They're the worst audiences ever.
That tells you what you're in for if you go to one of his gigs.
Yeah, so I do. And so basically, these are the most dangerous times in the world. We're talking about, making gay people and drinking at the World Cup. We're talking about what's going on at this, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And they're talking about,
Carry On films, lovely stuff. Listen, it's time for a break now, and in the next section, we open up the papers and dig right in with nuclear Iran, nuclear Twitter polls, and nuclear Matt Hancock. We'll see you in 2.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Stephen Allen, she's still Miriam Elliott, and she's still Lewis Schaefer. Moving on to The Observer, Lewis, and we may be out of Europe, but it seems like it's going to take a while longer to get the Europe out of us.
Well, it's interesting. Maybe they didn't think about this when they decided to leave, but, you know, they decided to leave, and they don't want European laws, and this is what The Guardian is talking about, that UK opposition parties, that's basically Labour and Red Labour, or maybe Blue Labour. Those are the two opposition parties.
SNP.
We count those. That's a different country up there, and I say that seriously. Is that they've said, hey, you can't get rid of all the 4,000 or more EU laws at one time. You can't just say we're getting rid of them, even though the people voted to get rid of those laws. They want those laws kept, and that's what's happening. The Scottish National Party is tabling 50 amendments to retain the EU laws. Okay, so
what are these 4,000 laws?
Yeah,
well, if I listed them now, I think we'd really be pushed for time.
They're hardly the 10 Commandments, then.
I don't know what these 4,000 laws are, and I don't think anybody does. And are there laws that if they took away, there'd be people running around killing people? Are they laws the EU says we can't kill, so now we can kill?
I think that law of don't run around killing people is probably not what we're talking about. So if that one's still on the statute books, do you think we can get rid of the others?
And probably most of the others are also still the statutes.
They're probably more like health and safety things, aren't they?
Well, it includes things like people's right to health care when you are, like sick pay, maternity leave, issues like that. Do you like maternity leave, paid maternity leave?
I never got it, but sure.
So you'd be in favour of that law?
Well,
so
it would be much better if all these were kind of more transparent, because as we said, no one really knows what these 4,000 laws are. And that's not to say I'm for or against maternity pay, but I would love to know, you know.
But is there not a risk in scrapping things that you don't know what you're scrapping? Is that not just as risky as having something that you don't know what it is?
Well, it could be that some laws are tying people up, red tape, you know, and restricting people.
But it could be that some laws are keeping people safe.
Maybe this is the whole point. We should be, you know, engaging with it.
Right. I think that's a good point. So what should we do?
Keep the good ones, scrap the bad ones.
But how do we know which is the good or the bad? Because the thing is, this current way of doing it, the ministers, if they don't try and keep a law, the laws will just go. Whereas you could have Parliament look at the laws and actually take a decision whether you keep it or not.
That would be surely maybe the better way.
Oh, then turns out you agree with the UK opposition parties.
Oh, OK.
Plot twist. It was like finding out Bruce Willis was dead at the end of that. On to Sunday's Independent, and I'm starting to think that totalitarian regimes having nuclear weapons could be a bad idea, Miriam?
No, I think it's the best idea since sliced bread. It keeps everyone on their feet. Only joking. It's awful. Nuclear threat from Iran is more advanced than ever before. So they have been investing massively in their nuclear programme, despite many attempts to thwart it.
Yeah, many.
By our guys in the Middle East.
Yes.
Our
guys.
Our crazy clerics in Iran who are, I've been following a bit about, what they've been doing to the young women there at the moment. It's just absolutely appalling. But that's moving away from the fact that they have nuclear weapons and they're extremely unstable. So that's bad.
And kind of becoming the arms, or if not dealers, then suppliers, because the drones in Russia. So, are you worried, Lewis? You're often not worried about much.
I am. This is one of those things you can't be worried about because it's an inevitability. I mean, there's so many things to worry about, and you're right. It's an inevitability. And the fact is that they're complaining that the Iranians are sending drones to Russia, Steve, but at the same time, we're sending missiles to Zelensky.
Yeah.
So
we're all profiting.
I mean, that's why I'm against this, because we are the arms dealers of the world. We should let these young upstarts. The interesting thing is this guy that James Cleverly is complaining about it. He's our foreign secretary, and we, as English people, as England, is about to face Iran in the World Cup, in the opening game for us. So here we are, and we're about to play them in a sporting match.
They're probably not going to use nukes during that, though.
And then, you know what? You never know. Like Miriam says, they're a bit kooky.
You never know what you're going to get
with those people.
It's all how they take the divine law, isn't it?
You heard it here first on this show, and indeed last.
Right.
Yeah.
Sunday's Mail now, and it's the vote that Donald Trump cares most about, Lewis.
Is about what this is the Daily Mail writes. It's a big news. Is that Elon Musk, who has just bought Twitter, he's the Tesla billionaire, if I have to explain who he is, and he's bought Twitter and he's paid a massive amount of for Twitter, and Donald Trump wasn't on Twitter because they kicked him off, and he's running a poll where Elon Musk is asking the people on Twitter, should we reinstate Donald Trump? Which is exactly how free speech should work.
Yeah.
It's like just open it up to people.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely. It's just another a successful attempt by Elon Musk to get attention for his platform. The guy's an amazing marketeer, and he paid too much money for it, but it's too late now. We paid $44 billion for something that's worth about.
His motto is Vox. I can't say it in Latin. Vox populi, Vox Dei. Vox Dei, meaning in Latin, the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Nice.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure that's what that means.
I think he's got it wrong.
Yeah.
So 55% of people said that they would like to see Donald Trump back on Twitter. I mean, it was kind of funny when he was on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms of material.
Yeah. Even if you didn't like it, at least it was a laugh.
But isn't Lewis right that basically Elon's just trolling us? He's just doing these things just that people go, yes, it's about time, or how dare he, and then
or
round
those bloody lefties. Take away my... He's just playing to the crowd, man.
You must be just sitting around.
And then there's all these leftists going, I'm going to delete my Twitter feed.
I don't think...
I won't be around hate speech. It's like, well, what do you hate? Everyone hates something, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think he's laughing. I think he spent $44 billion on something that's probably worth about $1 billion, maybe. I think $2 or $3 billion.
I think he just did it for the laugh. He doesn't even care. He's not going to starve, is he? He's like,
I know the real reason.
What's the real reason?
The real reason is he wanted to take some money out of Tesla, and if he said, "I'd like to take out $44 billion out of Tesla," the stock would go would plummet. And so this is his way. He's like in the casino. He's just got a pocket of money in the casino, and you have to stop by the gift shop and you buy something completely overpriced, and pointless.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know.
Have you been to a casino?
He's probably right. what was that analogy to do with the gift shop? So let's take a look at...
whatever.
Let's take a look at this story in the Sunday's Eye News, where Matt Hancock might face a new trial when he comes out of the jungle of being a Tory MP, Miriam.
So he'll be blocked from standing an MP because he's disgraced himself by being on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which is obviously low culture.
That's not the problem,
which is a crime in this country.
The problem isn't the TV show. Surely the problem is that he's got a job right now.
Just imprisoned the entire public for 2 years and then had a party and then did some really, really dodgy stuff. during COVID.
But he fell in love, so...
Yeah, so it's okay. No, I haven't really forgiven him for all of that. That was complete insanity, what we went through. And I think people are waking up to it now.
Yeah.
And I'm fully prepared to talk about it. And I really don't care if he's... I don't watch I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here. I'm not even interested in it.
I know, we're too good.
I'm too good. But I mean, you can watch it, but...
You know roughly what
the
happened.
idea that I'd be angry at him for that is, you know...
You get the rough idea. They turn up, they chat, you watch celebrities eat kangaroos' bottoms, and he proves that you are what you eat.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, Boy George is on it as well, yeah?
Also not without a blemish on his track record in the past either.
I've known that man for a long time.
No,
so.
but the difference is Boy George only locked up one person.
He's hilarious. He's a hilarious guy.
That was like a joke.
That was the closest thing.
Closest thing about it. I'm not just weird, that's a joke.
Let's finish this section with Sunday Mirror, Lewis. And would you go to see these guys for advice?
What, Tony Blair and, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. Well, I seem to remember also they did horrible things. Luckily, they didn't kill me or my family.
They lied.
Unlike Matt Hancock and those people possibly.
They didn't get right into my social life.
They were busy bombing other countries.
Like, you can't see your grandma.
But I don't know. I'm not saying that Tony Blair is the devil. But I think he's very friendly with the devil.
They hang out
together. He's doing their bidding. The devil's bidding.
He was all for vaccine passports as well, wasn't he? Even though there's absolutely no evidence for any of that.
Do you not understand the point, though, that if Keir Starmer's going to get advice from anyone, he might go to one of the people who managed to win an election? Because as we said earlier, it's difficult to remember a Prime Minister who actually won an election. That's been a while.
A Labour Prime Minister.
But I also probably think he's not asking him about which countries to invade. If that came up, Blair's not the guy to ask, but how to win an election, he might have some advice.
Oh, he might have some advice, which is basically present yourself as being a normal, nice person, and meanwhile, you're part of the World Economic Forum and wanting to take over the world.
Yeah, you're a raving psychopath.
I don't know. I'm an American. I don't know whether he's a raving psychopath. I just know the people that he hangs out with today, Miriam, today, Stephen, are the worst people in the entire world.
What do they say? Birds of a feather flock together.
I would like to say that if Tony Blair wants to sue anyone, and where would he get legal advice from? Does he know anyone who's qualified in law? I would make sure you sue the guests and not the hosts. I had no part in saying the thing that's just been said there.
Well, it's all comedy. I don't know what I'm talking about, obviously.
But this is the first time these stories have come up where, in the past, if you mention Keir Starmer getting advice on how to win, there'd be a laugh. Oh, you're not going to manage to win. But the polls are saying it's looking pretty good right now. But is that Keir Starmer's doing, or is it the Conservatives doing?
I think personally, as a relatively non-political person, I think the Conservatives have done a really bad job. They've basically had they had a revolution with Brexit, and instead of running with it, instead of being the Conservative Party that the people who are conservative want, they basically, when I heard that Tony Blair was back in the news, I thought to myself, you know what? I bet, what's his name? Rishi Sunak is calling him up. You could see that happening.
There's really not much of a difference anymore,
not much, exactly, Miriam.
There's no difference at all.
It's good to pick the colour of your rosettes and get the same policies.
Yeah, maybe we should do a rosette that's red and blue,
Yeah.
It's like art.
Well, that's my team. That's Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Well, that's all for part 2. Coming up after the break, we have Kim Jong-un's daughter, who's probably also called Kim. See you in a sec.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's dive straight into the first story in this section. Miriam, in Sunday's iNews, you have a very sweet daddy-daughter date.
This is so romantic.
Yes.
I think that's the only word I could think of to describe it. But Kim Jong-un has taken his daughter to a missile test launch for her first public appearance.
Cute at that.
Yeah. I mean, I could see maybe a fireworks display, but a missile going off. He's very, very secretive. I don't actually think her name... I mean, her name's not really been released.
No, there's someone in this article that guesses what her name probably is.
Yeah.
It's not how names work, is it? I'll have a swing at it.
Yeah, so apparently he has 3 kids. A boy, a girl, and the third one, well, presumably hasn't chosen its gender yet.
It's like the old working men's club joke, like 3 kids, but one of each.
One of each, please. People are saying that it's kind of a rite of passage, and he's showing the public that, you know, the future belongs to his daughter,
right?
In some ways, but we're not really sure. As I said, they're very secretive.
Yeah, which is a beautiful sentiment, really. It's like so non-sexist. That's why we should stop being belligerent to North Korea, because they're not misogynistic at all, the North Koreans.
Yeah.
That he took his daughter there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So let's forgive them for everything else that they've done.
So far tonight, you've been pro-Putin, and now you're pro-Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Everybody needs love in this world. Maybe if we gave him the love, you know. I mean, we're attacking the Iranians for their drones and nukes, and North Korea has missiles and nukes. It's kind of the same
thing, really.
But, I mean, hopefully, from most of the news says that they don't have the ability to send those nukes very far. Most of the things that they've attacked with their nukes are just nearby waters. I mean,
so
if you're a fish, you probably think, why does this guy hate me? But at the moment, he can't really attack anywhere else.
There's an old joke from the 1960s or 70s that said that we've got good news and bad news. The Russians the Russians have built a nuclear bomb the size of a suitcase. The good news is they can't build the suitcase. And I think that's like Korea, you know. Yeah, they have a nuclear weapon. They could build, but it can't go very far.
Yeah.
Professional comedian Louis Schaefer there telling a joke.
It's like a plastic one that says "Made in North Korea."
The next story in The Observer means that we probably want all of our despots to have daughters right now, Louis. This would make sense.
I know, yeah. Can I just put this up and just... I want to tell people to go to my go criticize me on Twitter,
because this story is about sexism and you're really owning it. So
well, do you know what? I mean, I never have. I have two sons, or so I've been told, that they're my sons. One looks exactly like me, and the other one is very, very good looking. But this is one of those typical articles in The Guardian that talks about this film that's just come out called Charlotte's Wells, acclaimed debut film, Aftersun. It's about a 12-year-old girl going on a road trip with her dad. And her dad's a bumbling kind of buffoon, kind of a losery kind of guy. It's one of those things about, like, men are, like, not that good at things.
I'm done with this culture.
Oh, my God. That's like that's The Guardian, that men are, like, no good. And so it's like page after page.
It's sexism.
Of sexism, of how men...
About men, generally speaking, all of them are just all incompetent.
They're all incompetent.
And women are like, sweetness and light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Amber
absolute
Heard.
rubbish.
Amber Heard. And this is
just
what
won
it's...
£5 that you mentioned Amber Heard on another show.
I mentioned it twice, so you get it.
The truth is that women and men are all as bad as each other, right?
You know what? No, men are better.
Oh, we're swinging the pendulum back.
Yeah.
It's eulogising one group of people and telling the other group of people that they're pathetic. I mean, it's not a really truthful or helpful way of looking at reality, and it's also not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
And in the story, they mention about how having daughters will make fathers less sexist.
That's not true.
Do you know this from personal experience?
Well, I have a father, but he's not. This whole obsession with sexism in itself is kind of weird. It's kind of like it's about kind of eulogising females as being victims all the time of this patriarchy, which don't let me go into that, but I think that's kind of an ideology in itself.
I can't stop you going into that.
And I can't say that actually
if I stop you going into that, I would be the patriarchy.
Yeah.
So I really can't.
That'd be hilarious if you went,
no, you
shut up, Miriam. Moving on.
You are right.
No, but I think it's something that's been spoon-fed to me all through my life, is the idea of sexism. And I think the reality is often is not that. So but that requires kind of age and wisdom to see that.
Yes, you're not that old.
Yeah.
Imagine how much wisdom he's accrued.
Yeah.
But Miriam and Steve, they use an example as saying that they looked at transcripts of a congressional hearing and that said that the senators who were grilling the head of the financial thing in America, Janet Yellen, that men who had children interrupted the woman less if they had girls, if they had daughters, whereas the men who didn't have daughters kept on interrupting them.
What about females who were in that same position of power? Do they interrupt men?
I don't think we allow females
how would you know that it was
in the Senate.
Although you're just trying to find a second wrong to complete the two wrongs don't make a right.
I just think it's not... It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, but here it makes sense.
Fathers love their kids. It doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy. You know, I've got 2 boys. Well, you know...
So you're now less sexist towards men?
Yeah, actually, maybe.
Yeah. Thank heavens. Imagine what tonight would have been like.
I just think it's yeah.
Well, let's move on to this next story. See what you make of this in the Telegraph, Miriam. Did you get a guide badge for this?
Sexual consent lessons should be compulsory in schools, says Girl Guides. Girl Guides? Wasn't that like brownies? So do they have that little, I've got my sexual consent badge? Camping, sewing. I won't say the next bit. Girl Guides are demanding that the Education Secretary introduces compulsory consent lessons because sexual harassment in schools has become normalised. So a coalition of women who spearheading against this anti-sexual violence thing, which is in part a lot to do with this smartphone thing, where they're all sending each other whatever.
Yeah.
Which is another to the point, do you think it's a good idea to have sexual consent lessons in schools?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Actually, probably...
Louis Schaefer, if you completed yours, because we're meant to do them here ever since you...
I know, considering my history, I don't feel appropriate for me to talk about this. But
you're going to hold up a different website address in a minute.
Is they say it's a problem, which is Ofsted, which is the office of Steds. I don't know what it stands for. Stop laughing. Can I just say that would it be can I have consent to tell you that I love you?
Oh,
Miriam.
oh, that's
Yeah,
fine.
but you're married.
I'm a
so
married woman.
I know.
We can make this. I'll bring it back to seriousness before we all have too much fun. Whenever there's a story about something happening, if someone gets attacked and people say, "What can you do?" Isn't the answer to the "What can you do" lessons in school to teach about consent?
That's exactly what the answer. That's what this country is. That's what this world is. It's divided into groups that want the state to take control over everyone's lives.
It's a bit condescending sometimes.
Let's have.
But then you are teaching children, so there is always an element of being condescending towards children.
Well, maybe we should. So you're saying we should outlaw schools, and I'm with you.
Wait, that was a leap. Yeah. I didn't say that.
I'm saying we should not have a public school system.
But I don't know, the way they word it, like urgent action is needed now, it becomes authoritarian rather than let's see if we can talk about this and let's see what happens when we do.
OK. Sunday's Times now, and if you've been thinking about getting a sex change, you might want to talk to your boss about it, Lewis. Specifically you should speak to the bosses.
Well, I didn't know this, but there's lots of organizations that are giving treatment funded for new gender dysphoria. There's a benefit for this, and Stonewall, which is kind of like the mafia-like organization, very scary.
Very welcoming name, isn't it?
Well, Stonewall started as an amazing idea in New York. I was just there in New York in July, and they actually chart organizations by how good they are dealing with LGBTQ, whatever it is, people. Plus, whatever it is, and they have a worksite equality index, and this is one of the factors that they include. If an organization like say HSBC offer this benefit, then they get higher up in the rankings.
Right. I'm not quite sure what that means. So they get they get money for.
No, it means that people say, "Wow, this is it's virtue signaling." It's avoiding lawsuits. It's avoiding problems. It's saying, look, we're good people. We give this benefit.
Yeah.
And it seems to be directly also related to how much money that people give to Stonewall. That you actually have to make a contribution to. I shouldn't discuss this because I'm coming across as being not a nice person by doing this, but I think it's a bit...
You're lovely.
Thank you. It's a bit scary.
Okay.
That's how I would say. Do you agree with that, Steve?
You not coming across as a nice person, wouldn't worry about it. I think it's your USP. Lean into it. I think you've been leaning into it for a while, to be fair. There are some of the banks, NatWest mentioned HSBC, whichever one likes to say yes, I imagine would score well in this. But it's important to realise, I suppose, they're being measured for offering to pay for something that's been requested, not trying to get more people to request it. Does that make a difference to you, Miriam?
Yes. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's...
And they're adults. And they're adults. So what a private business does as a benefit for their employees is none of our business, actually.
That's true.
OK. Well, we could still fill another show talking about it.
So good on HSBC. I mean, we're not going to complain if they decide to offer 10 types of tea in their dining room.
Yeah. Chain the little pens to the desk, though. That bothers me. And that's it for part 3. Coming up in part 4, we've got English football fans who want to have a drink in Qatar. We then can tell them what they have to do when they go to jail in Qatar. And we'll see you in 2.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
On radio and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel.
Britain's
News channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flock at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. Let's go out on a high. We're certainly going to be going out, we know that much. Lewis, Sunday's Mirror, and you can't stop English football fans doing what they do best, can you?
Well, you can't stop them thinking about drinking. They love to drink because they're English people, and English people like to drink, and they're going out, they want to drink. And like we said, like Miriam has said, that 48 hours before the game, Qatar decided that they weren't going to be drinking in the match. And English people like to drink. I don't drink. I've got type stage 3A kidney failure and a case of close to type 2 diabetes.
I'm sorry, Liz.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be all right. But and if you're listening, I think you'll find that interesting. But but so this is what's happened. Qatar, which are known for their horribleness, obviously, we know more and more about them. Killing 6,500 people, it's not.
They don't the sanctity of human life isn't on the top spot there.
At least not for their own people, maybe.
And if this was meant to be sports washing, where a country changes its reputation by spending a lot of money in sport, it's not done it, has it? Because every single time we talk about alcohol now, but every other story has always been about the human rights record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, did Hitler greenwash Germany?
He did.
In the 1936 Olympics.
He was well into nature, and he was a vegetarian.
Yes.
And he loved dogs. He just didn't like Jews.
No, he built the Autobahn. So that's a bad thing.
He worshipped nature.
I think we've done that thing in reverse. You know, on the internet, like every argument ends up talking about the Nazis. But for some reason, this story has ended up trying to think of the good things about Hitler. It's time to move on.
No. I'm just saying that they don't make you morally virtuous people, and in our society, they are sold as factors that make you morally virtuous. Yeah, but in fact, they are often in tune with real tyrannical nutcases.
Yes, they're signalling. The thing that really upsets me about this story the most, Stephen and Miriam, is that they just assumed that Qatar would serve alcohol.
They had agreed, though. Otherwise, Budweiser wouldn't have sent the money over and signed.
I was being ironic.
Oh.
But apparently, though, just to like I said earlier, most stadiums across Europe don't allow you to drink in them during the match. So it's not exclusive to Qatar.
Oh, now you're supporting Qatar.
No, but I definitely wouldn't be going to that.
This is the thing, because I don't like football, I'm not going to be watching it, but this time it feels like more of I'll get away with calling it a protest. I wouldn't have watched it anyway, but I'll get some points for it. Miriam, isn't it thoughtful of the Metro to write a nice guide for the people mentioned in the previous story?
So this is what football fans can look forward to if they go to Qatar and they drink
end up in jail.
Something
They drink.
that they shouldn't, and I'm talking anything except for non-alcoholic Budweiser, which is of course halal. You will face for first 24 hours in a cell with no contact with anyone, a bit like COVID. And then you can be behind bars for up to 6 months. There'll be no newspapers for you to read, nothing to connect with. Everything's highly censored there. A bit like here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say the most important things. They take all your money away.
They take all your money away, yes.
And apparently, if you're a bloke, they might shave your head. But I think,
Yeah.
I win that one. You can't find me. I quit.
I wouldn't do that. And if you're LGBTQ, then it could be a lot worse. So I just wouldn't bother going.
Good.
Even if they say we're all inclusive, like I said.
But here was the worst thing that I saw, is that you may be forced to wear a prison-issue uniform.
That's the thing that gets you, is it?
What about my creativity?
Some prisoners are shackled in handcuffs and leg chains.
But it's the uniform that's ruining it for Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leg
so you
chains
can
and
deal
shackles.
with the shackles and the intimate body search.
That's a sex toy for me.
Sunday's Daily Mail, Lewis. Did you invest in this Theranos thing?
I put billions in it. I don't know if people know about this in this country. It's that this woman set up this company to make this device, this kind of a box, that would do 300 tests, blood tests, with only a tiny little drop of blood. So people are deathly afraid of getting blood tests, and this was a miracle. It'd be like almost instantaneous. Unfortunately, she hadn't figured out all the stuff that would go into the box. She came up with this idea. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we put HbA1c and uric acid tests and all these different tests in a box? And she didn't do it. She just was basically lying, and she was lying for years and years. The issue. So her name.
Women are all wonderful. They don't lie.
They don't lie. And she actually had people coming in pretending that this box worked, but they would take the blood sample and they'd go down the street and they'd give it to in the regular machine, but because they hadn't taken enough blood, because it was just a pinprick's worth of blood, the readings weren't good. So people might have died from these bad tests that she gave. I think that's the truth. It didn't say this in the article. I might be wrong. I apologize.
So it's fraud, basically.
It's fraud.
Right.
And they sentenced her to 11 years in prison. And she said, "Ooh, I've got 2 children now. I got to, one is on the way. I got a baby. You can't send me to prison because I'm a mother." And I say, if you want to play men's games, you're going to pay men's prices.
True.
That if you do something wrong, you're not going to see your kids.
Yeah.
But to be fair, because she's now pregnant, she was allowed to remain seated when the verdict was read. So she got some benefit out of it, didn't she?
It is actually quite a tragic story in a way, but what can you do? If you've committed fraud on such a scale as to put people's lives in jeopardy, then you deserve a punishment.
The advice is probably don't do that.
Don't do it.
And speaking of famous people for wearing polo necks, looks like Tokyo residents are trying to get in on that action, Miriam.
Yeah, so the Tokyo residents have been told by their governor to wear polo necks because it keeps you warmer. And we're trying to get through a harsh winter and save on electricity. So you can either wear a scarf or a polo neck, so just dress like a mod. So there needs to be a mod revival in Tokyo and around the world. I'd be up for that. But yeah, so that's what the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, am I saying that right? Yep. Mm-hmm. That's his solution to tackling the energy problem of not being able to heat your home.
I mean, isn't this also the advice that your mum and dad would have said?
Yeah.
Like, put a jumper on?
Or a hot water bottle.
Yeah. But I suppose you could then, the other argument would be, it's really patronising for the government to tell you what to wear. Because, Lewis, if someone tried to get you out of that suit, it wouldn't happen, would it? You'd rather be cold.
No. I wear this during all things.
Mental image time.
I think it's all right to give people advice, but to force people is different.
Yeah. Well, you could have forced people to wear turtlenecks.
If you force everyone to wear a mask or you force everyone to wear a turtleneck, that's ridiculous.
You look at everyone and think there's a lot of milk tray being delivered today.
Yeah.
So let's finish on a feel-good story. Or maybe it's not, if you're the founder of the Theranos thing. Or if your name's Lewis Schaefer, probably. But what do you have for the rest of us, Lewis?
Well, this is the Metro. And what is the Metro? Is that a poor man's Daily Mail? I don't know who owns the Metro. And it says that they've done a test. They found out that women
Like children.
Love, like the smell of children. like children and like the smell of
These
children.
scientists are so clever.
I know, unbelievable. And then it kind of hits the limbic system, which is like part of the brain that lights up when you have tasty food. Yeah. And you know, they don't talk about men, but it implies that men probably don't feel as much.
Of course we don't.
Of course we don't, because we're men.
Yeah.
We're men.
Boo.
We're men, and I'm going to tell you something. Boo men. I'm with you. Boo men. And the NHS, when you have a baby, maybe they've changed this. They wash the baby's beautiful dander off. Did they do that with your baby, Miriam?
I think they did.
Whatever it's called.
Can't remember at the time.
It's covered in a white kind of mossy thing, baby.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that.
It's not Vernick. I think dander is the reason you're allergic to your cat.
They found that the newborns have a odour that comes off it, that it kind of activates a pheromone in the brain that is like dopamine, basically. It's a big hit for anyone. So when you smell, because everyone likes smelling a baby.
Well, everybody say that, and it is time dependent as well, isn't it? Their head smells great, but sooner or later, other bits don't smell so good. I'll notice that.
It's wrong with that.
That's all we've got time for tonight. Lovely mental image. Thank you to my guests, Miriam Elliott and Lewis Schaefer. You can see those on me.
Look for
Make
me
sure you
on
tune in
Twitter.
again tomorrow at 11 p.m. when Mark Dolan will be sat in this chair keeping it warm. Till then, have a good one.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment.